So one thing I wanted to talk about is a lot of people, when they're looking at starting yoga for the first time, they get in touch and they say to me, "What sort of yoga do you do, Sue?" And it's an interesting question because for me, yoga means union with the self, and that can take many, many forms from the tradition of yoga, but also yoga to me is something very personal. So each person steps through their own doorway to yoga. So what I offer in my private practice of Move with Grace is an opportunity to explore different practices from the tradition of yoga, but also out of all the different modalities that I've studied and also worked in over the years. Originally, I had a career in business, financial planning, insurance industry, and segued into the health arena with yoga, and also originally Pilates. I was trained in Basi Pilates and taught for many years at a small physiotherapist clinic in Karoi. And it was a lovely experience, meeting a lot of different people and helping them to explore ways to really take care of themselves, mainly for maintenance after rehabilitating from injury. So it's more on a physical level, but I found those particular clients were also looking for something a little bit more, something to help them give a greater connection to themselves and realise all the wonderfulness that exists inside of them, particularly after having an injury or an illness and having to rehabilitate from that. So I've had my own practice for nearly 10 years in Gympie, now working at a beautiful studio in Reef Street in Gympie. I've been there for about 4 to 5 years and sharing the space with a few other practitioners. The classes for group classes, there's 4 group classes a week that I offer, and they all have a different vibe to them because they're all different individuals. And then I also work privately one-on-one with clients and offer myself as a practitioner for specific courses or delivering specific sessions for different demographics of the community. So I've worked with the Parkinson's group in Gympie, the Gympie and District Women's Health Centre, also Community Action, and a few others that don't come to mind right at the moment. So personally, I discovered yoga about 30 years ago. Thought it was a bit woo-woo back then because I really didn't understand it, but I already had that natural affinity with myself and my body, being such an active, sporty person my whole life. I always say I grew up on the tennis court, in the garden. I had 4 brothers, so I played a lot of backyard sports. Loved swimming in the ocean, did all the athletics that you did at primary school and high school. But our family was really involved in the tennis association in Gympie, and I really enjoyed the camaraderie-ship and also the wonderful opportunity it did to mix with many different generations in tennis back then. So as younger people, older people, and it was I always found it such a respectful game because as much, irrespective of the outcome of the game, there was always that beautiful opportunity to graciously shake hands with your partner and the opposition across the net at the end of a match. Yes. So anyway, the type of yoga I offer, obviously the experience comes out of my own personal experience. I first got into yoga from the physical side of it, but then as different life experiences presented themselves, it was a natural affinity to the philosophy of yoga that drew me in at a stage in my mid-30s when I was faced with an experience where I was trying to come to terms with the meaning of life and death. My husband had been diagnosed with cancer. He was given a very, very poor prognosis but survived nearly 3 years, well and truly outlived any expectations the medical practitioners had. So that was the impetus for me to then go down this path of finding some solace to accept and understand what was happening, given that I was in my 30s, he was in his 40s. We were very fortunate at the time to have a mentor that mentored us in transcendental meditation. With the transcendental meditation practice, my husband was given a slightly different practice because his path was different to mine. He was going down that path. Yes, he was going to die. We were all going to die, but he knew that it was going to happen at some stage. And for me, my practice, helped me stay coping with the situation at hand, and coupled with the transcendental meditation practice we were mentored in and continued to do each day, I had my own yoga practice as well. And it was quite funny because often people would find me in the hospitals sitting in child's pose or sitting quietly with my eyes closed, doing some meditation. I would do movements of my body in a very mindful way, because each day that I went to the hospital I was going to be faced with something new and different. And it really helped me stay centered, I suppose, and with the present moment, to enable me to cope with all the trickiness of what we were navigating. And I think the culmination of the practice was, I truly wholeheartedly believe my husband had a peaceful peaceful death, because of transcendental meditation, and also our capacity to be able to know that there was something more available to us than what was on offer. So it was a practice, it was a faith, I suppose, of being with the present moment and having the the expertise of the mentor to help us along that path. So coming back to what sort of yoga do I offer, having studied the Krishnamacharya lineage, the Yoga Sutras, and the other modalities, there's a few of them, I won't go through them now, but it's about that capacity of being with yourself and enabling you to move towards the goals that you have for yourself. So whether it be a goal on a physical level to stay independent through the aging process, or being able to cope with things that are happening in your life that are a bit tricky at the moment. So I hope that's given a little bit of insight into the yoga that I offer, or that I do. I create the opportunity for you to come along and explore that, and bearing in mind that there's so many different practices of yoga. There's practices that are more suitable for different times of day, practices that are more suited to different seasons of the year, and then obviously practices that are more suited to each individual. So I will sit here a little longer, being immersed in the gentleness of the forest. Toodles for now.